true, nervous. Very, very dreadfully nervous. I had been and am. But why will you say I'm mad? The disease had sharpened my senses, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing, acute. I heard all things in heaven and in the earth. I heard many things in hell. How then am I mad? Hearken and observe how healthfully, how calmly I tell you the whole story.
It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object, there was none. Passion, there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his Pokemon cards, I had no desire. I think it was his braces. Yes, it was this. He had those evil metal wires strapped to his teeth. Whenever he turned to me and I saw them, my blood ran cold. So I made the only rational decision. I decided to kill him, and finally be rid of those nasty things. Now at this point, you fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded with such caution, with such foresight, with such dissimulation. I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during the entire week before I killed him.
Every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And then, when I had made an opening big enough for my head, I put in a dark flashlight, off so that no light shone out, and then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in. I moved it slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening, so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I turned the flashlight on. Cautiously, oh so cautiously, but the buttons creaked. I shone it so that the light shone on his braces. And this I did for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found his mouth closed, and it was impossible to do the work. For it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil braces.
Upon the 8th night, I was more than usually cautious in opening the door. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my own wisdom. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think there I was, opening the door, little by little, and he had not even dreamed of my secret deeds or thoughts. I quietly chuckled at the idea. And perhaps he heard me, for he moved suddenly as if startled. Now you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was black with darkness, and so I knew he could not see the opening of the door, and I kept pushing on it steadily. I had my head in, and I was about to turn on the flashlight when my thumb slipped and it clattered to the floor. And the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quiet and still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was sitting up in his bed listening. He groaned with terror. It was not a groan of pain or of grief. Oh no, it was a low, stifled sound that showed his fear. I knew that the old man felt and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he had been lying awake ever since the first slight noise. When he had turned in his bed, his fears had ever since grown upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not. He had been saying to himself, "It's nothing but the wind in the chimney. It is only a mouse crossing the floor. Or it's merely a cricket which has made a single chirp." Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these lies, but all in vain. All in vain, because death, in approaching him, stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. After a good hour or so, I dared to shine the flashlight once more. I saw the braces and sprang upon him.
There's been a few reports of disturbances around this house. One of your neighbors heard screams. May we come in and take a look?
Of course, officers. But you must be mistaken. My master's out of town and I'm here alone. He's visiting relatives in the north. I have some tea ready. Would you like some?
We would love some, but do you mind if we first look around the house a little bit?
I will show you around myself. Won't you come with me?
This is wonderful tea. What kind is it?
It's just some tea with lemon. Nothing too special. No doubt I grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice. Yet the sound increased, and what could I do? It was the low, dull, quick sound, much as the sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gulped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more angrily, but the noise steadily increased. Why would they not be gone? It grew louder, 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 and yet still the men chatted pleasantly and smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God! No, no. They heard, they suspected, they knew. They're making a mockery of my horror. This I thought, and this I think. I felt that I must cry out or die. And now, again, hark, louder, 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 louder.